Join, the podcast where we explore innovations, trends, and real-life case studies with leaders and disruptors from throughout the world of data. This podcast is presented by CData Software, the leader in real-time data connectivity, and I'm your host, Alex Pounce. On this episode, I speak with Allan Pym, Chief Operating Officer for APOS Systems, one of the leading providers of SAP analytics solutions and connectivity. Allan is a co-founder of APOS and has helped build the business into a leading SAP partner, delivering SAP solutions for enterprises worldwide. He brings decades of experience in the SAP analytics space and the broader data science arena. Allan, thanks so much for joining the show.
Thanks, Alex. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Let's dive on in. So, Allan, can you provide a 30,000-foot view of APOS, both the company and the solutions you provide within the broader marketplace?
Absolutely. So APOS is a longtime SAP partner, and we focus on SAP analytics. And so over the last 25 to 30 years, we have been in this exact business of building enhancement solutions for SAP analytics around the Business Objects platform and now the SAP Analytics Cloud platform. So that is who we are.
So I'd love to dive into a little bit more detail on that. What are the key problems that APOS solves for your customers, and how do your solutions really speak to those problems?
Yeah, so I mentioned the two different platforms that we've worked with in the SAP BI and analytics. So on the Business Objects solution suite, we have a number of solutions that fit in to help BI operations teams to meet operational management challenges that they have to become much more efficient in managing their business objects platform. But on the SAP Analytics Cloud environment, this is the newer platform from SAP. And so we have solutions that provide enhanced data connectivity to the Analytics Cloud platform. We also do some very interesting things around report broadcasting, and quite different than the live connectivity, but it fits into the same sorts of platforms. So those would be the two main categories that we hit.
Could you talk about the major innovations that you bring to the market within those two areas?
Right. So I think the first area to talk about, and the area that we'll focus most on in our discussion, is around connectivity for live connectivity for SAP Analytics Cloud. So this gets into all of the key capabilities of real-time access from the Analytics Cloud environment, which brings all kinds of really cool benefits and very efficient benefits for not having to replicate data and having that real-time access and being able to leverage the inherent security models of data where it resides. So that's a really key area. The data and report broadcasting that I mentioned, that is a pretty exciting area too. And this allows us to get reports broadcast out to a much broader range of users that otherwise have some challenges and difficulties getting access to that information. So it's quite separate and unique and distinct from the data connectivity. But for our conversation today, I think these key live connectivity options are the ones that we'll probably focus on the most.
That makes sense. That's our bread and butter here, of course, at CData. We're the data connectivity company, or the real-time data connectivity company. So yeah, I would love to hear more about the way that you really help SAP customers who are trying to get the most out of their SAP analytics, um, leverage analytics using those connectivity pieces, and specifically really getting into some of the rich data modeling and those pieces that you enable as those customers connect to SAP analytics sources.
Yeah, exactly. I think the first thing that we should probably clarify on is this environment called SAP Analytics Cloud. And this is quite unique in that the analytics platform is running completely in the cloud. And so all of the analytics processes are happening in the cloud. All of the content is stored in the cloud. but the data does not have to be in the cloud, and this is a really a key distinction point. So they have within the analytics cloud environment both an import connection where you move data up into the analytics cloud where those analytics processes happen in that location, or you utilize a live connection, and that's where there's this very intricate communication process that means that the analytics processes can happen in the cloud, but can be connected to without moving the data up there. So this live connection has more involved than just the timing of the connection. It's actually the residency of the data that is really quite key. So you don't have to move that data, and you get to get the benefits of all that that brings without having to replicate and move the data.
I just want to spend a moment on that really quickly. Uh, could you speak to anything that you've seen from your customers in terms of the benefits of that? Just why you would not want to have to move the data in order to report on it?
Well, with every movement, there's not only the time and effort and energy that goes into that, but it brings risks that go along with it too. So for some organizations, they have to limit every potential risk for data access or data error or whatever the case may be. So the fewer changes, the fewer replication points, the better. But even beyond that, as soon as you're replicating data, you're now dealing with timing issues. And what is the most recent update? What is the most recent access point or access time that the data has been moved? That's an important point as well. Probably one of the biggest points, though, is how uh, you're able to leverage the security in the underlying data source. And when you don't have to replicate data security, that then really starts to bring significant benefits. So, where the APOS Live Data Gateway fits in is that we're enabling this live connectivity from Analytics Cloud to non SAP data sources. So, SAP does a very good job of establishing and providing for live connectivity to their own SAP data assets. But when we go to connect to all of the other kinds of data sources out there, the SAP Analytics Cloud environment doesn't have that built in live connectivity. It's simply not available. And this is where our company has put this major effort to enable that connectivity to a wide range of data sources in this very intricate live connectivity mode that's special to Analytics Cloud. And that, of course, brings us into our partnership with CData and how that has allowed us to expand.
Yeah, so Alan, you mentioned that CData is providing data connectivity for you, helping you with that CData connectivity layer. I would definitely like to know a little bit more about how you are leveraging that connectivity within the APOS platform. And then on top of that, too, I'm always curious about how APOS and all of our partners sort of layer more value on top of our raw connectivity, which is really what we specialize in. I would love to hear more about all of that.
So within our solution, Live Data Gateway, we break the capabilities into three functional layers. The first one is what we call our data virtualization layer or our data connection layer. And this is where we're making the true connection to the data source where it gives us the access into the data. And this is where we're leveraging CData connectors. Without the data connectivity layer, everything else that we do is meaningless because we have got to have good efficient connection to data, and so that's where the CData drivers, specifically the JDBC drivers primarily, although we do use some other drivers, this enables us that pure connectivity into the target data sources that we're bringing. And so we embed the CData driver into our platform, and then that allows us to leverage the additional layers, the second and third layer that I want to talk about. So the second layer is our data preparation layer. And this is essentially a business layer or a semantic layer where a centralized user has the ability to shield the end consumer or the end report builder from all of the complexities of the data. So things like measures and dimensions are defined there in one spot. Data transformations like dimensions and prompts and those types of things, geospatial data and hierarchies around that. These are all areas where in our semantic layer or our data preparation layer, uh, someone centrally takes care of those data complexities. Then, when we get to the data consumption layer, this is all about handling the unique communication patterns with the consuming application, which our primary focus is with SAP Analytics Cloud. So we're taking that raw connectivity that CData brings and the critical importance that it brings, and then adding those layers of capability on top of that.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. So your customers really benefit not just from the raw connectivity, but also from support in that data preparation and transformation process along the way, as well as just being able to report on it. Um, so I'm actually, and I don't think that we've maybe prepped for this, but I'd actually like to ask you for any customer examples of how customers are using this kind of connectivity all together and sort of putting those 3 layers together to create value in their organization.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I think of a couple of examples. We work with one organization who is a large equipment manufacturer, and they are utilizing connectivity that otherwise we would have some challenges with. And one of the areas is Google Analytics and getting data pulled in an efficient way from Google Analytics, and similarly pulling some data and bringing that together from Salesforce. And this connectivity allows for the creation of content and a live connection to SAP Analytics Cloud, and they present their data in a very unique fashion. Where yes, there's standard reporting that happens, but they also present their data in a large screen environment that is centrally located within their office space, and employees throughout the organization can consume the data and always have this visible to them. So in that case, not only are they benefiting from the not having to replicate data, but the currency of data and the recency of data is something that's critical to them, because it's actually kind of giving a stock ticker kind of look to some of their KPIs. And this is something that's broadly consumed by people as they pass through the organization. That's one interesting example. But another that's it's more generic in the concepts of what it's doing, but some very large pharmaceutical companies that we work with, two separate ones, both of which connecting to the Snowflake data environment. So this is unique because this is allowing an SAP analytics platform to connect to non-SAP data platform and leverage that best of breed style that has been the best fit for those particular organizations. They've centered around Snowflake as a primary data warehousing solution, but we're enabling them to be able to leverage that data from that environment into an SAP analytics environment, so that they've really centralized on the SAP analytics platform. Because of course they're performing analytics with the analytics cloud environment against their SAP data assets as well. So it's really allowing them to unify their data analytics platform.
Yeah, so I love hearing stories like that from customers because Um, I mean, that's something we see on our direct side of the business as well, where our customers are often having to report on things from different places. And they're, how do we get all this data from environments that aren't supposed to hook up to this analytics platform or that analytics platform? How do we get it there and do something with it? So I'd actually just, I think that's a good segue to ask you, is that a trend that you see a lot of within your customer base or within prospects who come to you, seeing data in all these different places? And could you speak a little bit also to the idea of best of breed analytics?
Best of breed analytics, I think it's in the use case that I was mentioning there, where they've centered around, in that case, they've centered around Snowflake as their data warehousing solution. So they're essentially saying that for at least that business unit, that's the solution that they want to use for all of their business reasons to store their data in a warehousing solution. But being able to select the best of breed for SAP Analytics Cloud as the analytics platform for that business unit, for that department, that allows them to kind of cross those boundaries of technology stacks. So that of course, in kind of the opposite way, if organizations want to use all kinds of different capabilities, what we're doing is that we're allowing connectivity to many, many different sources, and then they can be consumed by one or more consuming applications. So, in addition to Analytics Cloud, we're now doing capabilities. We're now providing capabilities so that consuming applications like Power BI and Tableau can also be consuming data from this. So you can see many different connection points, many different data sources, which of course CData is an important part of that story, but then also multiple consuming applications. And it doesn't even have to be just analytics platforms. It could be other data platforms that are consuming data from Live Data Gateway too. So the solution itself, Live Data Gateway, has so many different ways that it can be utilized, even though the primary use case is with SAP Analytics Cloud.
Yeah, the flexibility is an interesting talking point as well. I would like to ask you a little bit about the trends you're seeing more broadly and how people are using it. Um, yeah, what are some of the interesting ways people are using it that maybe you didn't actually expect, or what are some of the trends you're seeing in the ways that people are using it over time?
Well, when I think about trends that are affecting us and the industry as a whole, certainly the move to cloud is a huge factor here, and that's nothing new. What perhaps is a bit more new is if we think about the movement of data to the cloud. That's one thing, but now, as I've mentioned with SAP Analytics Cloud, the movement of the analytics platform into the cloud and SAP Analytics Cloud is, I think, I would consider that one of the earlier solutions that's done that, at least in the unique way that they're doing it. Others are doing this now as well, but that cloud-based platform. Now, the concept isn't so new, but the technical elements within that, and how do we do that? How do we make a cloud-based platform where all of the processes are happening in the cloud and have connectivity to either on-premise sources or other cloud sources that are residing in other cloud environments? That takes some orchestration. And so we're constantly working at not only making that connectivity happen, but dealing with all of these technical complexities so that it's strong and performant, and we can leverage and pass security for topics like single sign-on and security authentication across these platforms. Those are some pretty big factors, technical factors, which in effect are trends that we need to deal with. So I think those are some of the unique situations that we're seeing come up, are just the various combinations that customers are coming up with of data sources. So we see some very large, prominent legacy kinds of data sources combined with some really niche, unexpected data sources that are coming together. So yeah, those are some unique situations.
Yeah, I like what you said there about the unexpected ones. You know, people are trying to combine data sources or applications that you just wouldn't have thought they might have to, because they're having to deal with the unique analytics requirements of their own environment. How hard is it to support all that connectivity? Do you think for people building solutions? You know, how hard do you think it is to support this kind of connectivity, just in general?
Well, I think if unless they're being very organized about it and trying to centralize how they do that, it's a different integration for each one, which we see as a strong part of not only our current story but our future story with the Live Data Gateway solution, is to bring a unified platform with virtualized connection through one server system so that your connection to data happens from one place, and your consumption of data happens from one place. And of course, CData and the CData components, connectors, have been a huge part of allowing us to very quickly um, take on a much larger range of data sources than what's just kind of commonly available. But as more consumers can consume data from Live Data Gateway, then this just simplifies the story that much more and more. And so then the focus just is around managing and maintaining that single data connection platform. So we see that being an important part of our future story. And right along with that is the semantic layer that's in the midst of that, because it's not just the managing the connection, but it's presenting data in a way that, regardless of consuming application, it's meaningful and simple for users to access. If you force business users to have to get into the weeds of data complexities and links and joins and cryptic field names and all those kinds of things, it that's a challenge. That's a big challenge. Whereas with our semantic layer, our data preparation layer, which really is becoming more and more of a universal semantic layer, if you will, this means that we can access data and the same simplified view of data from various different consuming applications. So there's lots of unification and simplification that can happen there.
You're what you're really doing there is you're making the data look the same, access to the data look the same wherever it is.
Yeah, I think that's quite right. That's quite right.
Do you find that the people who are actually using APOS are increasingly more your sort of citizen analysts or citizen integrators rather than uh, only developers? And I say that because that's something we've seen is that increasingly it seems like within data that data democratization story is more important. And what you just described is you talked about getting away from these cryptic, specific C commands that you're going to make everybody do and to simplify that process. I'm just curious if that's something you guys have seen.
For sure. And lots of organizations talk about self-service analytics, and that, of course, is a great objective and concept kind of guide your actions in your analytics processes. But we're getting more focused on self-service modeling. So within our data preparation, we have two different kinds of views. And one is a freehand SQL view. And that really is for the technical user who wants to get their hands dirty into SQL and create a view that it can go after some very specific SQL commands and very specific data. Great. That allows them to do exactly what they want and create the inner and outer joins that they want and just be very specific about it. However, complementary to that is what we call our semantic layer view. And this is a wizard driven approach to selecting data values and data fields that you want to expose, and simply with mouse clicks, be able to make all of those selections, to be able to define measures and dimensions and take care of links and joins. You still need a little data know-how, but you don't need heavy SQL skills to be able to do that. So you create those views centrally, then and which can be done by a less and less sophisticated user all the time because of what's been happening. And from there, then the end story creator, report builder, if you will, dashboard builder, they don't they not only don't need to understand the data, but it's probably going to be that much easier for them because it's been someone who's that much closer to their mindset who's created that view and has probably understood the business questions at hand even that much greater than someone who who is heavier and stronger on the the deeper technical skills. So I think it should lead to stronger and stronger self-service analytics as we improve the self-service modeling.
I love that. So it's really about each layer getting easier, right? In order to make the end product easier, the end use easier for that person who's got that deep business knowledge, um, and maybe not quite as much of the developer chops, but wants to be able to do some pretty advanced things with data.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it, Alex. Each element becoming easier helps the next step in the process.
Yeah, that's very cool. Um, so I think now we've kind of talked about some of the features of the APOS platform. We've kind of dug into the weeds a little bit. I want to zoom out somewhat and just ask you. You're one of the co-founders of the business, so I'd love to ask you some of that founding story. How did you guys get started, and become the business that you are today? And what were some of the major milestones in that path of building the product?
Yeah, so back in the late 90s, we were primarily a consulting company, and we were seeing consistent requirements within our engagements around how to manage the business objects platform. And our creative roots, our product and development mindset it came to the surface, and we decided to build solutions and start to productize around those consistent requirements that we were seeing. So that was a simple enough starting point. Well, things took good hold then. And within a few years, we were really no longer a services company. We were fully a software company, selling the solutions that we had around simplifying the management of the business objects platform. So that is really how things started, and it evolved and grew, and the number of customers grew, the number of solutions grew, our reach globally grew, and several years later, we've got this terrific customer base of very strong customer brand names, household names, many of them, and all helping to simplify their business objects deployment. Then, as SAP's processes continued on, they started to complement their business objects platform with the SAP Analytics Cloud platform. And this is where the cloud based initiative started. And this goes back about 8 years ago. And we got an early look at the analytics cloud environment and realized, hey, we think there's an opportunity here for live connectivity to non SAP data sources. And we started into that in a completely unique way. And still to this date, we're the only organization that's delivering this kind of unique live data connectivity from analytics cloud to non SAP data sources. And so, yeah, it's been a great story.
Wow, the only one. I had no idea. You guys, so really there's nobody else that can do this stuff.
In the unique live connectivity mode of SAP Analytics Cloud, and it's a unique communication pattern. Yeah, we're the only solution globally that is handling it in the way that we are.
That is very cool. It's so hard to find, I think, in business that distinguishing element that really separates you. So it's very kudos to you guys for doing that as you've built the business. I am curious, what are some of the things that are planned ahead for your set of solutions, and or some of the major developments you guys have for 2023 and beyond?
I mentioned performance as a strong topic, and frankly, our performance is terrific. We get feedback from customers all the time about how good the performance is. However, it's always an area that we want to continue to progress and grow and improve on. So that's something that we'll continue to pay attention to. Security integration is always a top priority to customers, and again, we've made some great gains in security integration. We'll continue to do that as well. Um, Bringing together multiple data sets into one view of data. And so we talk about that as data blending. That has been a topic that we've been wanting to get to in a bigger way. And so that's on our future roadmap. Exactly when and how that's still evolving and taking shape. But those are all some great core topics. But expanded connectivity is always the case. So frankly, that's one of the great things about partnering with CData. As you bring on more connectors, in effect, we bring on more connectors and can support more. So ongoing collaboration with CData is certainly something that we will continue and to expand and grow. but expand in consumer base. And so I mentioned about how over the last couple of years we've worked on some initiatives that allows for Power BI to connect in, some recent work around Tableau. And so, yeah, we'll see how those initiatives progress and grow. And yeah, also getting into some very specific SAP data connectivity related to those platforms. So SAP has a solution called DataSphere or Data Warehouse Cloud. In DataSphere is the new name for that, and we're enabling some really specialized connectivity between those other platforms, Power BI and Tableau, into those platforms. So yeah, lots of things to be working on.
So making data available to SAP Analytics and then going the other way, SAP data, warehouse data available in other analytics platforms as well.
I guess that's right. You are right.
That's very interesting. Well, Alan, thanks so much for joining on the podcast today. Before we wrap, can you tell us just how can people connect with APOS and learn more about you guys?
Yeah, great. We have lots of terrific information at our website, which is apos.com, apos.com. Lots of documentation, videos, resources. We do lots of webinars, and certainly we would encourage people to take in a future webinar or take a look at one of our past ones. We are also listed on the SAP Store. And so, if anyone was searching for the SAP Store, they would find us listed on there. Our Live Data Gateway solution is actually a spotlight solution within the SAP Store, which is a nice category to be part of. And I think those would be the main areas that people would find us. But yeah, certainly our website has lots of great information for people.
Well, Alan, you crushed it, man. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me here today.
Really great to be here, Alex. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for listening to Join, the podcast where we explore innovations, trends, and real-world case studies with leaders and disruptors from throughout the world of data. To learn more about CData software, head over to cdata.com and check out our resources section. We have tutorials, webinars, more interviews, and many more nuggets of goodness. Thanks, and take it easy.